Good afternoon from a cloudy Wirral, unfortunately, but it's still nice and warm, etc. I'm going to talk about a few things today, a few articles that sprung to mind. So I'm going to pause it along the way. So if you see a little glitch in video, it's just me pausing it as I read up on the next article, or as I pass to the next article. So the first one is some of you may have heard me talk about the Acorn activist group before. Now they're a group of activists. Some would say extreme activists because they actually go into letting agents and demonstrate, etc., and they cause quite a bit of chaos. In fact, in 2022, a landlord apparently won approximately £100,000 from Acorn after what was described as a campaign of harassment against the landlord. At the time, Acorn issued an unreserved apology about what they call very serious defamatory and false allegations about the landlord. So, and what they are protesting about mainly seems to be built to rent accommodation. I know in Liverpool they've had issues there, and Kim Johnson's taken up their issues, the MP for Riverside. And now they're being courted by Hinchcliff. Now, who is Cliff Hinchcliff? He's an MP, and he's a member of the Environment Committee, or the Environment Audit Committee in Commons body, which says it checks the government work on environmental protection and sustainability. So I'm not quite sure why he's getting these in, but Anyway, on his social media platform on X, Hinchcliffe tweets, "I welcomed Acorn union members," because they call themselves a union. They're not a union they are a union as in they are a band of people together. They're not a union as in a trade union. To Parliament, Acorn's vital campaigning supports people with insecure housing throughout the country. So they mainly seem to be focused on built to rent, though they do go other places as well. I'm delighted Acorn is backing many of my proposals for the planning and infrastructure bill. Affordable homes for all, says Chris Hinchcliffe. And Acorn itself tweeted, "We're at Parliament today, invited by Cliff Hinchcliffe MP to support amendments that would stop letting developers off the hook when it comes to providing affordable and social housing." So they tend to be more talking. This group seems to focus on this build to let part of our industry. So developers that build rental properties or blocks of rental properties, and like I said earlier, I know that there've been issues in Liverpool, and Kim Johnson, who actually know Kim, has taken up on this on their behalf out in Liverpool. But they are quite extreme activists, and it's worrying when MPs are getting groups of activists in, but not actually saying to groups of landlords, come in and chat to us. I know they had the NRLA in there, but how about different groups of landlords going in, getting together and say, well, we'd like a meeting with our MP, please, or the MP, to put our cases across and discuss what we need or what we think's needed. So that's that article. Bit of interest there. Something we really need to be aware of. These different groups. So Shelters had a go, Acorns had a go. Lord John Bird, who is the founder of The Big Issue, had a go in the House of Lords. I think I reported that on that a couple of videos ago. He's actually calling for the scrap of no fault evictions for as soon as it becomes law, the new bill. So at the moment there's 3 months grace in it. As long as you started it before the bill becomes law, you've got 3 months to complete it. And what he's saying, no, I want it straight after the bill, it's law, that's it. So taking away that 3 months. Yeah. It's not good, is it? And we know landlords are selling up, they try and massage the figures, whatever. Lord John Bird, and he's going on the back of Rightmove. He said Rightmove said they didn't think they'd made much of a difference to landlords, the bill, at the moment. And what they actually said was, yes, they did say that. They don't think it'll make much of a difference at the moment. However, they said once it comes into force, it may make a difference. So he's been very picky with the language he's used. So he just took one part of it, but didn't have the other piece in, which is actually contradicts him. So, there you go for that article. I'm just going to pause the video and I'll just scroll on to the next one I want to chat about. So the next article I want to talk about is the HMRC have released certain data. and it's a study, and it reckons it reveals shocking number of landlords ready to quit. I'm not particularly shocked by that statement, to be honest with you, because I know lots of landlords are ready to quit, but apparently, other people are shocked by it. So they've taken the letting sector by surprise and released data from a survey conducted by the HMRC, which shows the desperate state of private rental. So this should be a wake-up call for the government if they're releasing this data, by the way. It shows a quarter of landlords are planning to sell off their properties over the next 12 months, and it confirms most landlords are small-scale amateur with meagre earnings from the exercise. So what they're doing is, they seem to be happy to force a small landlord out, which is what we knew what they were doing. They want the big conglomerates like Lloyds, BlackRock, etc. to come in and start being the big, massive private landlords. But there's still a place for us professionals. Remember that. So, completed by polling firm Ipsos on behalf of the HMRC, the survey of 1,243 landlords covered their investment activities, how they manage properties, and their approach to taxation. Quite interesting, actually. The full summary prepared by the HMRC and issued by the government this week is as follows. So I'm directly quoting from an article from Landlord Today, so all credit to them for this article, by the way. It's not my article, I'm just quoting on it, I'm just commenting on it. So the HMRC commissioned Ipsos to conduct research among landlords based across the United Kingdom to help understand their experience of owning property generally, etc. The research covered a range of topics, including investment behaviour among landlords, use of agents and accounting systems, the geographical distribution of landlords' properties, the perceived barriers to filling in correct tax returns. I think it's all that making tax digital. It's been aimed at, which is but we have to do it. That's why you have an accountant. That's why you use the likes of QuickBooks, etc. Xero makes it easier to make tax digital. So Ipsos used a mixed mode approach to this research, which included a quantitative multi-mode online and phone survey and 45 to 60 minute quality follow-up interviews. And Ipsos, to be fair, I've always known that they are quite thorough. The research asked a series of questions to understand landlord circumstances, motivations, etc. So on property ownership patterns among landlords, and it's quite a long, so bear with me a little bit because I think it's quite important information. Overall, landlords owned a property individually 93%, while smaller proportions of landlords own properties through a company 7%, or in a partnership 5%. So what they're saying is the vast majority of landlords owns properties in their own names, these smaller landlords. They're not in limited companies. They were at the time when you had the tax break to have it in your own name. And only 7%, they reckon, have it in a limited company. I mean, you shouldn't, to be honest with you, unless there's exceptional circumstances, you buy in a limited company or an LLP. So landlords commonly owned unfurnished residential properties, 72% were unfurnished, followed by furnished residential properties of 26%. The vast majority of landlords I know, that they provide unfurnished accommodation. So that sort of bears it out. Landlords were most likely to own a small number of properties. Just over half owned one property. So 55% of those surveyed. Remember, they were only surveyed 1,243. While the average number of properties owned was 3. So for those of you who don't know, once you hit 4 properties, you're classed as a professional landlord anyway. So most of these are classed as amateurs. So 4 properties and up, you're a professional. Below 4, you're still classed as an amateur landlord. The highest number of properties were located in South East, 22%, and London, 16%, and the rest are scattered throughout the country. On average, landlords owned the most in Scotland and the North East. Almost 2/3 of landlords, 63% of them, reported they earned less than £20,000 from annual gross rental on their properties, and half, 52%, earn less than £10,000 of profit annually. So the profits aren't great being a landlord. Don't let them kid you. Yes, you can make a living out of it just being a an ordinary landlord with 3 or 4 properties, you're not gonna be a millionaire. Not unless they're, in Kensington, not Kensington, in Liverpool, or Kensington, in London, or somewhere like Knightsbridge or whatever. You're not going to be a millionaire. Underpinning these overall trends, there was some evidence that different types of landlords have different types of ownership patterns. For example, company landlords were more likely to own commercial property and have earned a gross annual rental income of £20,000 or more in the last year. So, yeah, I'm looking at that myself. Mixed use, commercial, definitely, I'm up for that. As in my limited company. Now, whether I keep them in the same limited company as my residential, I don't know. I need to speak to my accountants about that, but I think I will. I think it's okay, unless he goes no to set another company up for it. We don't want companies all over the place unless they're for a certain reason. So, certain reason, set another company up is you go into partnership with someone on a property, you put in a company, and then you both are directors of it. But if it's properties you're owning, I put mine into a limited company under my name. Income of £20,000 or more in last year. I made about £20,000, to be honest with you. I don't think we could make much more than that. I think I pay my wife and myself a salary out of it. We don't get enough of a salary to pay tax, and that's not by design. It's just the fact that the amount of money is available, and that's how it is. People say there's a lot of money in being a landlord. Not when you're small scale, by the way. And I'm not saying we don't live comfortably. We do. However, we're not millionaires. Maybe next year. Who knows? But it takes a while to get this. It'll make you wealthy over a long time being a landlord, not quickly. It's not a get rich quick scheme, and no one should treat it as that. So they go onto investment behaviour. The route to property ownership was varied. The majority of landlords, 60%, purchased or bought their property as an investment. I did myself. However, 40% are accidental, what we call accidental landlords. They've inherited, been given it, left it, whatever. Regardless of whether landlords purchased or as an investment originally, or purchased property to live in, received them through inheritance or as a gift, the long-term security of property, 71% and 67% respectively, and the property being a physical asset, 69 and 64% respectively, were key reasons for investing or keeping the property. My view is the same as Rob Moore's: buy, hold, die. I'll buy the property, I'll do it up, I'll hold it. I'm not going to give it up. It's going to stay with the company until I pass away, and then it's up to whoever else takes over the company, to be honest with you. In the qualitative research, many landlords reported their properties were expected to be profitable over a long term, with an increase in capital. So they're looking for long-term growth, capital growth over a long period of time. So it doesn't get you rich quick; it gets you wealthy over a long period of time. And they see it as a safe investment. Bricks and mortar is a safe investment. It's a physical, tangible asset. House prices, they might zigzag, but they always zigzag upwards. So you're always going to make money in the long term, not necessarily in the short term, because it can drop. And as a result, most landlords intend to keep the same number of properties in the next year, 73%. However, 24% intended to reduce their number of rental properties within the next year. And this rose to 33% over the next 5 years. So what they're saying is 33% of those surveyed want to exit the market, which is a third of landlords, if you were to take that as an overview. Despite this, over half of landlords did not intend to sell their property over the next 5 years. For the most part, landlords reported using property as a supplementary source of income. By contrast, around a fifth of landlords, 19%, used their property as their main source of income. So what they're saying is the actual professional landlords that make an income off it are a minority. That's 19% of those surveyed. And if you think, it's not. So the vast majority use it as to supplement their incomes. So, managing tax affairs and the use of agents, landlords were aware of the basic tax rules for their rental properties, but nearly half, 49%, used an accountant to manage their tax affairs. I do, related to the rental property. However, a large proportion of landlords manage the taxes themselves, 43%. The quality of interviews indicated that landlords chose to hire accountants because doing their own taxes was time consuming and they had a limited understanding of the process. You're leveraging, that's why you do it. You're leveraging someone else's time and experience because they will do it quicker and better than you. So I pay my accountant £76 a month and he sorts my books out for me. I use Xero accounting software which he has access to, which is linked to my Starling current account, bank company accounts. I've got two company accounts and it's linked to both. It's only linked to my main account. The other one's just for messing around with different entrepreneurial schemes I come up with. But at the moment they just access one. The other one's very easy to keep a tab on with a spreadsheet. But the main property account, the accountant deals with it. He has access to my Xero. He sorts the books up, sorts the books out. He'll ask for any documents he wants. I'll leave him to it. And it's, what it says is, it's further complicated by changing tax laws, and we know that from national insurance and the rumours that they want landlords to pay national insurance on their income, rental income. Not sure how they plan to do that because we're subject as a limited company to corporation tax, but as you heard, there is still a large majority of landlords into their own personal name, and they could go after them. Tell you. So income tax and national insurance, potentially. Well, you already pay income tax if you're paying yourself, but national insurance on the rental income. It's another way of taxing you to the hilt. Landlords generally found it easy to either fill in their tax return or prepare their information for their tax third-party agents, with 62% of self-fillers and 68% of those outsourcing find it easy to prepare the tax information that way. So, going to Fiverr or something like that, I get someone to do their accounts. The most commonly cited reason for finding this difficult was the complexity and lack of clarity of the rules. And this is the thing, they are complex. They're not designed to be easy for you to understand. That's my take on it. They will trip you up if you're not careful. And I just say, get an accountant to do it because, yes, I know lots of people do it themselves, but I'll tell you what, they're pulling a hair out at the end of the financial year when they're trying to get that ready, and I'm just going to my accountant, is it ready to me to sign off? Yeah, this is it, let's have a read through it, bang, signed off. Leverage someone else's time and expertise. You save time. Your time is better spent on doing something else, an income generating task. So, that's about it about tax. So nearly 2/3, 63% of landlords use a third-party intermediary. For example, estate agent, letting agent, or property manager. I use a letting agent. I don't want to deal with tenants. Letting agents, I pay him 9% across the board. He's absolutely superb. He does all the vetting. He's really fussy on tenants. He chases up the bill. He chases up any gas safety, ICR. I get the notification to pay for him. He's absolutely spine. I know some people say, it's wasted money. It's not. It saves me time. It saves me dealing with people I don't need to deal with. That's right. And I understand that it's a personal choice. But I feel it's more effective use of my time to be doing something else, not dealing with tenants. Because I haven't got the expertise in that sphere. And he has. He's also become a really good friend as well, and we work together. Anyway, that's a couple of articles I wanted to touch upon. Hope you find them interesting. I think we've really got to watch what happens with this Renters' Rights Bill. You've got the likes of Acorn getting in to see ministers, etc. Shelter, Lord John Bird from The Big Issue. They're still getting their money's worth in. Well, we've most probably run to the end of putting our proposals forward, so why can't I don't have an argument, and why aren't we still able to put stuff forward? Maybe Ben Beadle can answer that. Maybe that's a question for Ben Beadle from the NRLA. Listen, Ben, apparently we finished doing our submissions for amendments, but these people are still going in asking for amendments or having their say on it. And obviously it's not, there's got to be a bit of give. I've said this all the time about Renters' Rights Bill. I'm not saying there's not rogue landlords out there. We know there's rogue landlords, but the vast majority are not rogues. They're there to provide decent accommodation at a fair rate. And this bill is, some may consider a heavy-handed approach. I'm mad at it crack a walnut with whatever, and it could have been done better. The amendments that the NRLA have put forward, most of them fell, which, to be honest, was not surprising. But as I said, we're now in the ping pong stage with the House of Lords and House of Commons. It's got to go back to the House of Commons once they do the final reading at the Lords, and then if they like the amendments, they'll leave them in. If they don't like the amendments, they'll take them out and they send it back to the Lords, and it perhaps time and time again until they agree the wording of the document. So, still a way to go yet. Key things to look out for is this thing by Lord John Bird saying he wants no fault eviction stopped as soon as it passes into law. As soon as that bill passes, he wants the end of no fault evictions. And he doesn't want that 3-month grace period, for want of a better word. So even if you started before, if it comes into law, unfortunately you waste your money doing it. So we need to watch that one. We need to keep an eye on what Shelter are doing, Acorn are doing, etc. And we need to keep pestering our MPs and and our representatives. Email Ben Beadle or whoever whichever landlords association you're a member of, or if you know your local MP, email your local MP. Even if you don't know your local MP, give me your thoughts on it. Keep pushing from our side. That's what I'm doing. So yeah. Anyway, all for me for this afternoon. I think I spoke long enough. It's quite a long video, this, so hope you bear with it to the end. I will put a link to my podcast down below, because if I haven't told you, I've got a podcast, Efficiency in Property Investing. And we talk about all things property. And it's mainly aimed at newcomers, but even experienced landlords will learn something from this. So whether it's be on energy efficiency, or how to get a solicitor, how to find the right solicitor, etc. We cover a huge amount. New episodes out every Monday, so please like, subscribe and share. Costs nothing to share, but means a huge amount to me, and I'm really grateful if I get that support. So I'll put a link in the comments below. Enjoy the rest of your day. Keep moving forward. See you next time.